Hello and welcome everyone to our live Affinity webinar, Building a Tech Stack to Create a Scalable, Consolidated Deal Flow System. I'm Jenny Dvorak. I'm one of our Directors of Product here at Affinity, and I'm joined today by Connor Hughes, CTO at Artesian.
Hi.
So today, we'll start by providing some context on what we're seeing in our customer markets, including a shifting investment landscape and including the needs and trends in technology in use today. And then I'll pass the mic over to Connor to talk about an introduction of Artesian, talk about how the technology stack has evolved over there, and talk about some Affinity use case examples and the benefits that they've received from it. So what we've seen in the shifting investment landscape is that private capital firms operate in a relationship economy, but with difficult to use transactional systems. This is because technology strategy has become a critical contributor to the success of private capital firms. And in a relationship-driven economy like this, the most successful firms have moved away from the legacy transactional systems that are just unable to give them a competitive edge that they need. So private deal dynamics have changed, and this has dramatically impacted investment firms. So the levels of competition will continue to increase, which puts even more emphasis on investors' networks and the technology that allows them to tap into those networks at scale. And because of this, data and systems in the daily experience of these deal makers has to change. Today, the industry is plagued by low adoption of existing CRMs as investors continue to settle back into siloed Excel docs to manage key workflows and relationships. And who can blame them when most CRMs require so much manual data entry and not enough flexibility to view information in a way that is helpful and also actionable. But some of the leading private capital teams like Artesian have found a way to leverage Affinity and other supporting technologies to drive better investment decisions. And by putting Affinity at the center of your tech stack, you can free your team from manual data entry and allow them to collaborate effectively and leverage those relationship insights to close more deals. So how does Affinity do this? Affinity syncs with your email and calendar data, which then automatically builds contact profiles and then enriches them with leading data providers to provide precise relationship graphs and the insights needed to make investment decisions. It's available wherever you work within an easy to use, flexible web application, also available within your email inbox, on mobile, on LinkedIn, and other key websites in your browser. It brings information to you wherever and whenever you need it, including other tools you use for internally and externally facing operations. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Connor.
Thanks, Jenny. So as the slide says, I'm the CTO of Artesian. I've got a number of different responsibilities. I look after internal systems, plus also doing due diligence on inbound portfolio companies and also acting as an advisor for portfolio companies. I've implemented a number of CRMs over the years, and yeah, Affinity has been one of the more seamless processes that I've stood up. So all good, and that's why I'm here today. Next slide. Thanks. So Artesian is one of the largest early stage VCs in the Southern Hemisphere, with over $1 billion under management and 600 portfolio companies. We're got a global footprint, which is challenging, given that there are different people touching different companies at different times of the day. And as we'll come to later in the presentation, the information sharing capability and Kanban boards are really useful to bridge those multiple time zones. So I think there's a realization within Artesian and across a lot of other firms that you will hit a tipping point or a precipice where your manual processes that are Excel based or just in people's heads, just won't scale. And maybe that's at the 500 mil mark, maybe that's $1 billion, maybe that's your third, fourth, or 10th fund. But at some stage, things just don't scale, and you can't keep adding more people. So there's a recognition that there needed to be a digital transformation to systemize and automate key pieces of the investment process, and also to be able to have that confidence to be able to collaborate and to have that information sharing capability across the team, and to remove those information silos, and to ensure that there is transparency across the investment process. So somewhat surprisingly, when I joined Artesian, there were a lot of manual processes, given that VCs invest into cutting edge technologies. But it was an opportunity to uplift and to implement best of breed capabilities like Affinity and data warehousing and business intelligence reporting, and to be able to automate interfaces with external parties, whether they be LPs or startups, to be able to pull those relationships in seamlessly into Affinity, and then to be able to work through the investment process, and then to be able to integrate with financial systems, and then make an investment, and then manage that relationship on an ongoing basis. Or if a deal is passed, to be able to then go back and to have another conversation in 6, 12, 18 months time with a potential investment company. So the tech stack before Affinity, as I said, it was pretty greenfield. There was Trello, there was Excel, and there was a lot of email interaction. So one of the VC team famously observed that her inbox was her workflow system. So that was definitely ripe for disruption and improvement, and it's something that was a big uplift from standing up Affinity. So if we look at the workflow, a startup came through either a warm introduction or via scouting. It uploaded into Trello manually. There was duplication. There was manual lookups to PitchBook for data on a particular company. Then going through the IC process, different Trello board, and then there was no integration with eFronts for financial reporting. It was all siloed, segregated, and difficult to onboard people with, difficult to provide the transparency of reporting that LPs now demand, whether it be across investments or across ESG, importantly. So yeah, big opportunity. So as I mentioned at the outset, the data and the technology around data was recognized that it could be a potential competitive advantage for the firm. And we articulated those competitive advantages and how we wanted to execute it. So step one was to get core building blocks in place. So stand up Affinity, stand up a data warehouse, and to then pull those building blocks together to integrate a proper front door mechanism type form integrates through to Affinity. So that allows us to be able to filter and to route the startups to the appropriate fund, and to be able to do things, for example, like for our female-led founders fund, to be able to score gender diversity. So from the left, we've got startups coming in, goes into Affinity. Also, Affinity is then is mining our relationships with any external parties. So we know if startup ABC Corp, well, we can say that, oh, John or Mary or Tom has talked to ABC Corp because we've got that relationship mapping already in Affinity. So there was no need for anybody to update any case or records. It's just there. So looking at the flow, we've got a type form into Affinity, fires off a Teams message when a new company has submitted the type form. The pitch deck or video is saved onto SharePoint. The company information is enriched via PitchBook automatically. Fires off via API to our data warehouse. We pull financial information from eFront, and then the third step of the 3 phases, build a unifying data picture on top of that via business intelligence report. In that context, it's Power BI. And then the next stage, it's been forecast by Gartner and by others that in the next 5 years, 75% of VC deals will be machine learning influenced, if not driven. So given the data is there, we can then do machine learning to be able to provide an investability score. Something else we're looking at is also to be able to source based on mandates, to be able to source potential investments across different geographies on a 24/7 basis. As you can't always just rely on people or your network sourcing potential investments. And this is really another view of our tech stack. So we've got our LPs, they contribute to the funds, so pretty much well understood. But Affinity is integral to the entire process. So we've got the deal pipeline touching Affinity, portfolio monitoring at the Power BI, and then, as I mentioned earlier, we come down through to machine learning, and we've got the back office and admin aspect as well, which is all interrelated and tied into to Affinity. So it's not just about technology, it's also about people. So people need to value data, and the team needs to value data. Again, one of the real positives I found about Affinity is that you don't need to input the data. So when I've had CRM implementations in previous organizations, I've had resistance from people because they've got to go and create a contact or create a case or do something. And when it happens automatically for you, when the Affinity's AI does it for you, pulls out the information from your mail client, life is good, and you get that data, and you can then start to do interesting things with it, to move companies through workflows, and to build integrations, as I mentioned, with with like Teams or Slack or Typeform. And here's really just a flavor of how Artesian uses Dealflow. So we get a portfolio in from the outside world, whether it comes through from an introduction or from a Typeform. It's triaged by the analysts, and then it gets worked through various stages. So whether it's rejected straight out of hand, if it doesn't meet a mandate, or if there's further DD required, we work through, and you can see in that screenshot that's across the screen that there's additional information that's been enriched, the green information, and we have various different labels and tags, which then allow us to work through as the potential investment goes through different gates through investment committee and then through to funding, that it will then work its way through, and funds will be released, and it'll be recorded that we've made an investment. And then we can come back to this for follow-on investments. So we've understood that now the information is there that we've made an investment, and there are people who can come back and ask, if they're asked a question, when did we invest in this company? This is easily accessible, and we can report on it either through Affinity reporting or expose it through into Power BI onto business dashboards. So, really, as I mentioned, Affinity's helped us scale up and spread out. Do more with less, I guess, is also important. So it reduces the need to hire additional back office staff. It becomes, it's helped us to become more efficient, to reduce the amount of data that lives in people's inboxes that's siloed. One of the BC team was reluctant to take holidays because he wasn't able to hand off his deals to team members, because all the information, all his notes were either in his email client or written down in a notebook. Now all that information is on an Affinity deal, so you can see the contacts, the context, and somebody else can pick up and move a deal forward if should there need to be anything worked on whilst somebody's on leave or out of the office. And the real benefit is that it's increased deal flow. It's made reduced frictions and made things better. And one of the things I strive to do is to make things better, and to improve the lives of the business teams that I work with. And that's where we're at today. Great, thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Connor, for joining us today and walking us through the examples of Affinity within your tech stack.
Great, thank you, enjoyed it.